The dense forest surrounding Hollow Creek had long been the subject of local legends. Stories of shadowy figures and whispers in the wind kept most townsfolk far from its edges, especially after sunset. Despite the warnings, Emma was undeterred. She was a nature photographer drawn to the promise of untouched wilderness. It was late October when Emma ventured into the forest. The air was crisp, and leaves blanketed the ground in hues of gold and crimson. She spent the day capturing stunning shots of the autumn landscape, marveling at the interplay of sunlight and shadow through the ancient trees. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the woods grew unnervingly quiet. The cheerful chirps of birds and rustling of small animals vanished, replaced by an eerie stillness. Emma glanced at her watch. She hadn't realized how late it was. Determined to find her way back before darkness enveloped her completely, she packed her gear and started retracing her steps. But the forest seemed different now. Paths she had confidently walked earlier twisted and branched in unfamiliar directions. The towering trees loomed closer, their gnarled limbs clawing at the sky. A faint whisper carried on the wind, indistinct but persistent. "Emma!" She froze. Her name, softly spoken yet clear as a bell, echoed through the trees. Heart pounding, she turned in every direction, but there was no one in sight. Shaking it off as her imagination, she pressed on, quickening her pace. The whisper came again, louder this time. "Emma! Stay!" Panic set in as the trail disappeared entirely. She was surrounded by a wall of trees, their bark blackened and peeling like charred flesh. A sharp crack behind her made her whirl around. A shadow darted between the trees, too fast to be human. "Who's there?" she called, her voice trembling. No response. Just the relentless whisper, now joined by the faint sound of laughter. Childlike, yet distorted and hollow. She clutched her camera, its weight oddly comforting, and began snapping pictures blindly into the darkness. The flash illuminated glimpses of something horrifying. Pale faces with hollow eyes peering from behind the trees, mouths stretched into grotesque grins. They vanished as quickly as the light faded. Emma ran, branches tearing at her clothes and skin. The laughter grew louder, mingling with whispers that now spoke in a language she couldn't understand. Her foot caught on a root, sending her sprawling. The camera flew from her hands, landing with a sickening crunch. She scrambled to her feet, only to find herself in a small clearing. At its center stood a tree unlike the others. Its bark was smooth and white, resembling bone. From its branches hung what looked like ropes. No, not ropes, nooses. The whisper grew deafening. Shadows emerged from the tree, their hollow eyes fixed on Emma. She screamed as they surged toward her, their cold, clammy hands pulling her into the ground. Days later, the townsfolk found her camera near the forest's edge. The final photo showed Emma staring into the lens, her face twisted in terror, and behind her, the pale, grinning faces of the forest's ghosts.